You've spent a lot of time with Elon Musk, and I've noticed that the media covers him very differently than the way people who are fans of him cover him. What is something that the media or the general public doesn't understand about him that you feel needs to be thought about?
I don't know if it's a lack of understanding as much as it's like we did 2 videos with him, which was an interview and then a factory tour. And the factory tour was fun, just like walking around, pointing at stuff, just being a nerd for 45 minutes in a factory making cars. Yeah. And I think a lot of the stuff that's not necessarily not understood, but just like boring and not fun to cover or not as salacious is just like a nerd. Just like a guy who's just like in the trenches of engineering and is like obsessively micromanaging an engineering company, which is like, I say this all the time. Some of my favorite executives to talk to are like the product people. And a lot of companies they have product people and those people don't get camera time. And it's the marketing people that get pushed to the front. Brother, you get to talk to them and that's no fun.
You speak in my language and I just want to do this in advance. I want to apologize to all the engineers out there, all the people that code and design and are behind the scenes. Tyler, I want to apologize. No, because what's beautiful about engineering and science, it's kind of crazy that I'm saying this as a comedian and I'm actually proving my father right. I should have studied medicine. But what's cool about science and engineering is that you have to humble yourself to something beyond your own opinion.
You can have ideas about how something should be, but it
doesn't matter. Yeah, it's up to physics. You are fighting physics, which is like, whatever you want to call it, physics, God, the universe, you must submit to something bigger than yourself. And Twitter, get back to it, and social media, everyone's God is their opinion. And what a horrifying place to be. If you've ever been at like Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner and like all your family's around the table and you're just hearing everyone's opinion, just scale that up to 8 billion people. What a nightmare. But somehow, Marques, you don't feel like it is a nightmare.
I guess it's about what I've curated.
About your experience.
I've curated it,
So there's that. Last question for you. Do you have any questions? No, you went through everything.
Let me check. I might have one. Actually, I do have one. I have one.
Oh, yeah? Okay. So I'm going to end with this. This is really, really fun.
Yeah.
You got to do something that I've always wanted to do. I got to go sit down with heads of state. Oh, wait. No. Let's finish this. Do you feel a level of responsibility that you're interviewing some of the most powerful people in the world? And as much as you're like, I'm just the gizmo gadget guy, these are people that like, the engineers in San Bruno actually shape society, I would argue, even more than the politician and
fully
diplomat in DC.
Fully agreed. So this is completely unintentional. I do feel that I bear that responsibility now. But the way this started with these interviews, my first ever interview as like a quivering high school child was Kobe Bryant during his farewell tour at the Staples Center.
Oh, this is the sneaker one. I was going to ask you about this.
That was my first on-camera interview with anyone ever.
Wow. This is for the Kobe 9, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, let's talk about tech with Kobe. No one ever asked Kobe about tech. Like if I could ask, obviously I'm a tech nerd. If I could ask Kobe anything, basketball is cool, but people will be able to get into more nuance. Let me hear what Kobe has to say about tech. And I got real honest answers about like what he cares about, what he chooses not to listen to.
I love this video, by the way. This is a great video.
It's one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Yeah.
And
it should be in the Library of Congress. It's one of my favorite videos.
It was Kobe was very good at being interviewed, and he made that a great experience for me.
Okay.
And so, but the idea behind that was, okay, if I ever do another one of these, let me interview someone else with a unique perspective on tech. Nobody ever asks these people just about like, what phone is in your pocket right now? What are we talking about? Like tech, like do you listen to music before you play a game? Like let's get those questions out of people, real tech questions.
Yeah.
And then I made the mistake of doing 1 or 2 interviews with tech executives.
Yeah.
And what happened was those got so visible and blew up so much that every other tech company went, we can just put our executive in front of Marques and he'll talk to them and he'll think of some nice questions. It'll be a good YouTube video and that'll be that.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's 6 CEOs in a row and I'm stuck in this.
And Marques is interviewing the CEO of Halliburton about their new drone.
And I'm like, wait a second. Okay. I was trying to get to like interesting people and their feelings on tech. And that's something I'm actively trying to jump back into because I think it's been like 6 in a row. And like Elon was somewhere in that 6 in a row. And there's a CEO of Google and of Microsoft. And we've done this with dance now. I get that they're not going to answer questions about what phone is in their pocket. Like I now have done that interview enough times.
Yeah. I mean more specifically, though, about the potential nefarious tail end risks of the things that they're making.
Yeah. So now that I've done those interviews and I've gone in front of those people and asked those relatively harmless questions, all of the comments are like, why didn't you ask those questions?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a really good point. I think that interview with those people should have been a little bit more on the critical of what they're building, on the questions of the future of what they have planned for these companies.
Yeah.
So when I was asking about like what phone was in your pocket, what I was trying to ask Kobe years ago, it turned out that wasn't a very constructive or useful question. And so now I just have all these interviews of like kind of fun, humanizing versions of these like corporate leaders where I'd rather have asked them those questions. So I would go back.
I appreciate you wanting to do that, man, because you have access in a way that like us at the Daily Show or even Patriot Act, they know don't even take it because we want a softball interview.
Right.
So don't sit down with Trevor or Jon Stewart or Hasan. They're going to grill you. Don't do this.
Yeah.
But I do feel like media and tech really shape the narrative and they shape reality. I'll give you a funny example. I went on CNBC Squawk Box and I remember this and the running gag that I did, I showed up and, like the full turtleneck and I kind of did this whole piece of like every great American grifter shows up on Squawk Box, like shilling some product in whether it's Elizabeth Holmes or Steve Jobs, I have come full circle.
Yeah.
But the real truth of the joke that I was trying to land is I remember during the pandemic, these shows created such great financial FOMO in the middle class for the retail investor that you guys really gave these people FOMO and we all wanted to pocket gamble. And retail can never compete with institutional investors. And here we are 2 years later, I could feel my spidey sense going off and you have all these people left holding the bag. And the people that aren't holding the bag are the people that run those same companies and banks. They are not left holding the bag. And all of them get golden parachutes on their way out. You'll see these C-suite executives literally jump out of a burning building with a $28 million package. They'll never lose their homes. They'll never lose their retirement. And their kids' future will never be on the line. So the point of me going there was to land that point. So I actually did talk about how like, hey, I was watching you guys during the pandemic and I bought Bitcoin at 50,000 and I lost my money. And they were laughing at me, but I go, understand the real point I'm getting at is that you guys have this incredible apparatus to create financial FOMO and nobody's saying this to you. Nobody's like telling you like there are profound tail risks. It's not just the hedge fund manager in Connecticut that's watching you. That's at the same income class you're at. There's a bunch of people that are working class that are just getting hosed right now because of it. So I appreciate you taking that note because they don't get asked those tough questions a lot. And they're really smart. They're going to avoid it, Marques, at all costs.
Yeah.
But the problem is that I think the size, the tail end size of their impact is becoming bigger and bigger as we become more reliant on technology.
Yeah. They'll be the most influential people of the generation. Clearly, they already are.
Yeah.
And it's not even about. I mean, obviously, I would like to ask them lots of these questions, but I think it's about incentivizing them to make the right choices as far as the future of these policies that these companies have, because they have more of an impact on humanity than a lot of the other policies that they drafted.
How do you feel about some of the stuff that they try when they build things? What is it? Break things, move fast and break things.
Move fast and break things.
When we are the collateral damage of that. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it. I like when they do that with technologies, because that does happen sometimes. And I think that we kind of see that with with the headsets.
A renewable rocket, sure.
Yeah,
great.
Move fast, break things, make new things. That's great. But you're right. A lot of the companies that are the most visible have us as the product. And when they move fast, break things, it's more than just breaking code. It's like breaking behavior and incentivizing bad behavior. It's like all sorts of weird things that you're also breaking in the meantime, which is a consequence of lots of people using your product, which is it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that particular social networking mindset, but it is a mindset a lot of them take. Yeah.
You remain optimistic despite that?
I do. At the end of the day, if I zoom all the way out, like really far out, top level, I think you succeed if you make a good thing. I hope, right? And I think if you make a bad thing, eventually it fails because people stop using it or stop wanting it or stop enjoying it. that's true of like regular basic products, obviously already, but of like social media products, social connection tools.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're only good within a certain ecosystem, but they'll be good enough here that they'll survive.
Yeah.
But I think just generally, I'm optimistic because the good stuff keeps working, and it either gets stale or it gets bad and it dies.
Got it.
And that's, we remember MySpace. It's not like MySpace turned to a pile of garbage, but it just got stale and it was over. And I think that that's the way I think about generally the products and technologies that we've seen in our generation. Hey, thanks for watching this clip. Obviously a really fun conversation with Hasan. Hasan's already subscribed to Waveform, so if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? But also let me know in the comments what other guests you'd like to see. Conversations like that are super fun, and I think we want to do more of them on Waveform, so let me know. Type it down there.